Can I tell you to break clean, watch yourself at all times, shake hands now, may the best man win. Good luck to both of you.
Round one, there's the bell. Speed called by very excellent, the uncrowned heavyweight champion.
Welcome into That's Boxing Podcast. I'm Dust.
Hey, morning, Dust. I'm Coach.
Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, man.
Have you recovered fully from Saturday's boxing extravaganza?
Oh man, that was all day boxing.
What was your like time from when to when, boxing to boxing?
Man, I was probably started with the prelims of the DAZN card.
You were so you were like 11 a.m.
Yeah, probably 10:30, 11, something like that.
Good for you.
Yeah, man. Well, I was cooking breakfast while I was on.
Okay, all right, yeah. I tapped in at like noon, and I tapped out at 11 p.m. So it was full West Coast time, West Coast hours, all boxing Saturday. I think we're back, though. We're recuperated, took a day, and let's break this down because there were some snoozers and there were some crazy fights. But getting right into it, Fury and Usyk. Wow. Did this fight live up to the hype?
Big wow, man. Amazing hype. It had everything you want from a competitive boxing match of this caliber. Mm-hmm. Shifts in momentum, drama, intrigue, maybe a little too much showboating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, damage. Yeah. A little controversy. Mm-hmm. But the scorecards got the right guy. I think the judges got it right. Well, two of the judges got it right.
Yeah. So in case you're living under a rock, Fury Usyk fight for first undisputed heavyweight championship since 2000, so 24 years, and the first ever undisputed 4-belt heavyweight championship on the line. Usyk defeats Fury by split decision. The fight does go the distance.
An amazing fight. Yeah, it was Lewis had it in the 3-belt era, and now the 4-belt era, we got Usyk now 2 weight classes he's become undisputed in, and the biggest of the weight classes. Can't get any bigger than that.
Yep.
Amazing work. But what do you think, man? How did you see this fight playing out from the start?
So it was really interesting. So I scored the fight, and I think one of the judges and I matched scorecards, which I think had Usyk by 2 or 3 rounds. But the fight, it started out. And I think Usyk had an interesting game plan, which was a lot more aggressive than people thought. And I think that paired well with Fury's game plan, which was clearly to box a little bit off the back foot, use his length. The size differential was crazy.
That's the first thing I noticed. As soon as they got to the work, after everybody else was out of the ring and it was just them and the referee, I was like, holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Fury's humongous.
He's huge. Because isn't Joshua bigger than Fury?
I mean, everybody's been lying about the height.
Right. But isn't Joshua 6'6"? No. Yeah, he's 6'6" and Fury's 6'9".
That's what they say, 6'9". But, man, he looked so big in there.
He looked huge. He looked
the Jolly Green Giant with that kilt on,
So that immediately made me uncomfortable. But Usyk took the fight over, right? He was pressing that action. He was holding the center of the ring.
Working the body right away, too.
Right away.
Sticking that jab to the body.
So Usyk looked really dominant in the first 2 rounds. Anyone that gave Fury the first 2 rounds, I think, is out of their mind.
Fury had some nice feinting and some good flicking jabs, but nothing consequential. He didn't look too uncomfortable, but you got to give the points to the guy who's working harder, controlling the ring generalship, and scoring punches. He was scoring to the body and the head.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, maybe the 3rd or top of the 4th round, Fury switches the momentum, finds another gear, finds, I think, the adjustment to Usyk's style that was pretty evasive, where he starts going to the body, a lot of rear hand punches to the body, time and Usyk coming in, and that really shifted the complexion of the fight and the momentum. I felt where I started getting that kind of foreshadowing feeling like this is not good. Like Fury's taking this over. He's way bigger. He's way more powerful, and eventually he's gonna really hurt Usyk.
Yeah, that's what it looked like was happening. I even said out loud somewhere in the mid-rounds, they're like, oh, this isn't looking good for our guy. Mm-hmm. And it was, the body work was really adding up, and it took the legs away from Usyk. It took the bounce out of his feet, and you could see he was really absorbing some big punches to the body. And he took a huge uppercut there in the middle rounds, too. I mean, almost lifted him up off the ground. Mm-hmm. And he did make the adjustment to start defending that one a little bit better. But Fury got his rhythm going in the middle rounds and was taken over, no doubt. It looked like it was going to be his fight.
Yeah. So 4, 5, 6, 7, Fury just completely takes over the fight. I'd say increasingly more dominant each of those rounds. Something in the mid-8th, Usyk made an adjustment to Fury's adjustment. And I want to go back, run the fight back, and really kind of break it down and see what it was. But he took something away from him, and he started hurting him. And then in that 9th round, wow. He cracks him. He must have maybe broke his nose. You see Fury step back, and you see that look on his face, kind of shakes it, doesn't shake it off, and Usyk catches it right then and knows he's got him hurt, and he just goes for the stoppage.
Now, we always talk shit about the commentators on these TV shows and on these fights, say this guy could have done a better job, or this guy's good or that guy's bad. But the true test of your ability to commentate a fight is what happens when the shit hits the fan and something crazy happens, because I was saying some wild shit right then. I was yelling and screaming, jumping around. I think I was screaming, "The giant killer! The giant killer!" And terrified all my cats. They're running away. Oh, but we were having such a good time in that moment because we thought he had him out of there.
I was off the couch. Yes. I was like half pacing, half stomping, clapping my hand. Let's go! I thought it was going to be finished right there.
Amazing, dude.
And that's the question. So Tyson, a lot of people don't really know how the rules work, right? But Tyson falls, gets caught by the ropes, which is TKO. You got to give him an 8 count, right?
Well, if you go by that rule, the very first initial reaction to the straight left landing was him backing up. It's kind of stumbling back and bouncing off the ropes.
True, but I don't know if we could say confidently the ropes caught him there. Whereas
I think he was had the wherewithal to know the ropes were behind him and bounce off them like he does often.
Right, but then Usyk's headhunting there. He gets him. Tyson tries to evade and then eventually falls, slams into the ropes with 1-2 seconds left in the round.
Just a few seconds left.
So they give him the count. And then the second the count is up, Usyk has no time to work. The bell goes off.
Right.
A lot of people online saying he was saved. Do you think he was saved, or that's just how boxing works?
I think, in a way, the referee saved Usyk, because had he let him continue to ping pong and pinball around the ring just for a few more seconds, there would have not have been a knockdown. And then the fight would have been a draw or maybe a win for Fury. So
that's an interesting take. You're right though, because by ruling it correctly, saying hey the ropes caught him, that makes it a 10-8 round, puts Usyk up.
As opposed to, if Fury would have been able to stay on his feet for just a few more seconds, then he would have got through the round and been saved by the bell. And then his recuperative powers, his ability to take punishment and then come back is amazing.
Yeah. Well, we've seen him literally rise from the dead in the past, but on his ability to take punishment, one question I have is, do you think that that's diminished over time? Like, if this guy fighting Usyk got hit with those same shots pre-Deontay Wilder, would he have walked through them? Because I was very impressed that Usyk was able to hurt him as bad as he did.
Well, Fury's had a history of going down. I think 7 times in his career before this fight, so now he's up to 8, and all the way back to Steve Cunningham dropping him in his fight with back in
which I think he said was his toughest fight. He hates fighting smaller guys.
Small guys punching up from down low.
Yeah.
And coming around where you can't really see it coming. Yeah, he's not invincible when it comes to his chin, but he's able to recover. And that's part of your chin, right? His ability to take a shot and get back up. He doesn't get sparked out completely. And it's an interesting thing. I think his skull is like that of some kind of Cro-Magnon beast, right? I think you really have to run him over with a truck to put him down into like a sleepy time knockout.
Right.
We've never really seen that from him.
No. Well, and speaking of recovery, so he comes back on in the 10th. Usyk, do you think he took his foot off the gas too much, or he could just tell that Tyson was recovered fully? Of course, I wanted him to go out there and finish the job, but at the same time, I think I was screaming, be cautious, be smart. Right? Don't just put it to the floor and get stopped here.
Well, part of our pre-fight analysis was picking Usyk based on his ring IQ and his experience. Mm-hmm. So he's been around enough to know, just because you hurt a guy a little bit doesn't mean the fight's over. He's still got a lot of rounds to go. What was that, the 9th round? So we got 10, 11, and 12 still to go. That's a long way to go. So I think he felt he was a little punched out after that barrage and that onslaught, and he played it smart.
Yep.
For the 10th and 11th round.
And he banked those 2 rounds, and I think he split the 12th on the scorecards.
Yeah.
So Usyk walks out with the win. Who was it? It was Craig Metcalf who scored it for Tyson. I feel like sanctioning bodies need to get a handle on judges. When they issue scorecards like that, I feel like there needs to be some type of, hey, we're going to watch the fight again with you. Tell us what you saw. Explain this scorecard to us. Because it's just so strange, and it's such an aberration when two people score it, more or less the same, maybe a round off, and then someone has 4 rounds different. It's pretty strange.
They gave every close round to Fury. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bias in the sport. I mean, I'm biased as a as a fan, as a coach, as a member of the boxing community. I have my biases and my opinions, but judges shouldn't. They should be truly impartial, right?
Yeah.
But I can't believe that they're not. They're only human.
Well, and that's really what Fury poked at the end, right? He said, hey, this country's at war. Everybody wants him to win, so they're going for him.
I thought that was bullshit, man. I thought that was some bullshit because you got beat legitimately in a close fight. But don't bring that shit up, man. Like, It wasn't like, I don't know. I don't get that comment. I think he'll come to regret that because that's really one of the most controversial things about the whole thing was that statement. They asked him about it in the post-fight press conference, and he just kind of started rambling, and then what's his name? Frank Warren stepped in and said, "We got to respect Tyson Fury. He's a warrior. He's been through so much. He's true, grit and all this." I'm like, okay, dude, just damage control with the PR crew. They should have just not said that. I don't think he really meant it.
When Tyson Fury came back from his first retirement and took the Wilder trilogy fights, I really liked him. I thought that the way he talked about mental health and all this stuff was commendable. And obviously he's a super interesting, kind of exciting character. But since that time, his just insane ego, it's like you can have some of that, but it's such a bad look. Trying to obfuscate this clear loss, saying he's the greatest ever when it's like, dude, objectively, look at your resume. And maybe that's a question. What does this do for where does Tyson Fury land now after this loss?
Yeah, I think he needed to lose to maybe humble himself a little bit, maybe not. I think he could have won this fight if he would have been more humble in the fight itself. All that ego outside the ring, all that talking, it got him into the ring with all the showboating and sticking his tongue out, putting his hands on the ropes, using those moments to actually box and score some fucking points.
Yeah.
Could have won him the fight.
Yeah.
But just instead of goofing around.
I will say the rounds in which, because I thought the same thing, and then I was thinking about it, I was like, well, the rounds in which he was showboating, he won. Right? So he probably couldn't have won them anymore. But yeah, it does feel like he stutter-stopped his own momentum, right? And you said on the last pod, you were saying he's going to be hot and cold. He's going to work in spurts, and it's not going to be enough to get the job done. And that's exactly what happened. And you called the split decision even. He was going to do just enough to convince one person that he won, but not. And it does look like that. There were many times, especially like 5th, 6th round, hey, if he just really pressed the action, he could have gotten Usyk out of there. Yeah. And if they fight again, that's clearly the game plan. So that's, I guess, the next question. There's a rematch already scheduled for October, which is right around the corner. Does it happen? What's next?
Man, I think part of what happened here, and it was Lennox Lewis himself who talked about this in the pre-fight broadcast, how Fury's been recovering from the cut. And when you're recovering from a cut, you can't spar hard. And when you're not sparring hard, you're not accustomed to getting hit in the face. And you have to toughen your face up in sparring to get accustomed to getting those big shots. And you could see, and he's a very expressive guy, but you could see that he was affected by the punches from the first round, wiping his nose, trying to wipe his face a lot. The slow motion replay of him getting hit with some of those left hands, it was hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
But that's the problem here, is that he didn't take the Ngannou fight seriously, and then he wasn't able to take this fight seriously in a sparring preparation manner. Obviously, he got in great shape, but it's nothing like getting hit in the face. I've been through this in my boxing life, where in and out of sparring over the years for different reasons, and you think you still got it, and you get back in there, and I still got it a little, but there ain't nothing about getting hit in the face that you can remember.
Right.
You have to go through it again every time. Even Sugar Ray Leonard wrote in his autobiography after coming back from one of his retirements, it was shocked by how difficult it was to take punches. It would just hurt his face and made him uncomfortable. But then after 2 or 3 weeks of hard sparring, it goes away, and you're a tough guy again.
It's like your nerves are resensitized.
Yeah, and you have this aversion to getting hit in the face because it just hurts, and it's uncomfortable. And I think we saw some of that from Fury, where he was pulling back. His trainer was telling him, Sugar Hill, saying, "Quit leaning back." Well, he couldn't stop because he had this
right. It's just his reaction
to getting smacked in the face.
Yeah.
So, and that added up to him really getting hurt. So I think with proper preparation for the rematch, he could do a lot better and probably and potentially win, because this one was so close. So a slightly better Fury, a slightly tougher Fury, a slightly rougher Fury, a slightly more rugged man can take the fight from So
you think it would be partly his preparation, meaning just giving himself the ability to use some of those strengths, but also maybe the game planning? Because it did feel like from the beginning, I mean, maybe that all was his nerves, but it felt like that was their game plan, was to outbox the boxer. And he tried to rough him up a little bit there. And I mean, still, there were probably 3 low blows, 4 rabbit punches, a couple punches to the back of the head. I mean, he is not a respectable fighter in any way, but maybe he leans into that more with his game plan in the second fight, and then all the sparring and training is able to back it up, and you get a tougher guy.
Absolutely. I think the rematch would be a really risky move for Usyk. You know, Usyk, he didn't like those low blows. He didn't like some of that dirty work. And at one point, I was worried about him complaining too much.
Yeah.
And then somebody in the crowd echoed my sentiments. You could hear somebody loud and clear, sound like a British lady saying, "Quit complaining." And I was cracking up because I had literally just said that to him. But not in a way that I was hating on him, in a way that I'm like, don't let that feed the enemy, you know, that you're uncomfortable.
Right.
Don't look to the ref to help you.
Right.
You got to go out there and help yourself. If he's hitting you low, hit him back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, but Usyk did everything right that night, though. But that shows he's a real professional when it comes to the game. You know, he's like, "Why are you hitting me low?" You know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's tough, right? Because you want to plead your case where, you know, I'm looking for a point deduction, right? If I put myself in the ref shoes, and I'm like, I feel like in the dressing room instructions, right? I'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to give you a warning. 1, I'm going to give you a warning. 2, and the third is a point. So it's up to you. You're the one that's going to decide, but that's how it's going to work." But refs don't. You see them, and I'm not talking about this ref necessarily specifically, but just in general in fights, you'll see. I'm like, was this 10th warning? Oh, 10th warning, 12th warning.
Yeah.
A fighter would be dumb to listen to you.
Yeah.
You know, but
it's a strategy for sure. I mean, we use that even in amateur boxing. I tell people, don't just expect this to be punches and defense. There's going to be a lot more going on here. You got to be rough and ready to get elbowed in the face. You know, or have somebody stiff arming you, and the referee just saying, "Hey, bring it back. No, go ahead and bring it
Missing
back."
it or not calling.
The old Shakur Stevenson. How many times they warned him about that straight stiff arm?
Yeah,
bring it back. Bring it back, kid. Bring it back. He's like, "Yeah, whatever, dude.
Yeah,
I do what I want."
Exactly. Till I know you're going to take a point. So you know, maybe Usyk has to put some pressure on the ref there to say, "Hey, I'm calling this out. That you know." You should maybe, because if he ends up getting a point taken because of his complaining, wow, that's incredibly strategic.
Yeah, and that's an important thing for the trainer to do. You know, you've seen trainers go out there and make statements right at the glove touch. Sometimes, hey, like they'll say, "Hey, you know, watch out for the low blows, ref," or even famously, they warned the referee in Ali versus Frazier that Frazier was going to be punching them in the hip bone all night long, and they're like, "Hey, you know, it's not so much he's trying to hit him in the balls; he's trying to hit him in the hips,
right?
Trying to break his hips down, and slow him down, and hurt him to the legs." I've been hitting the hip one time; my leg was numb for like a day and a half.
Yeah,
this is like right on the hip bone.
Right,
hurt so bad. So, yes, I agree. If you get the referee on your side before the fight, that's a good move.
Right,
but don't look for him to help you during.
Well,
the
I'm
fight.
sure they did. Usyk's team's sophisticated. I'm sure they were letting their expectations be known, because that really could change the complexion of the fight. And it sounds like your call for the rematch is maybe even a more competitive fight, maybe a Tyson win, partially because of those things. But the question still remains, is the rematch happening?
If I was Usyk, I would retire.
Yeah.
On top.
Yeah.
Walk away the king, man. There's nothing left to prove. And this Tyson Fury thing could go on and on forever. You know, part of this immediate rematch thing gets me thinking like they do the 7 series games in the NBA. It's like, okay, well, let's just have everybody fight each other an
7
odd
times.
number of times,
Right.
you know, and then we'll see who the better man is.
Yeah.
Because 2's never going to be enough. If Fury wins, and he's got a good chance of doing it, he almost pulled it off this time. So if Fury wins the next one, we got to do it a 3rd time. Or what if Usyk wins again? That'd be cool, and he makes a lot more money again. But what's next for him after that? Who's next? There's nobody left. He already beat everybody he needed to beat. He accomplished everything he needed to accomplish. 37 years old, walk away king of the world, man. Rocky Marciano, undefeated.
I think you're right 100%. And part of that is just because that's the ending of the story I want, because I don't want him to get beat by Fury.
Right.
Maybe the question, obviously the answer to the question only lies in Usyk's head, probably. Well, I guess we got to ask if Fury's going to take it, right? But if I'm Usyk, I guess the question is, can I beat him more resoundingly? Because, you know, I would say it's 80-20 in the community that agree with the decision, right? But there's still that vocal minority that sees the fight differently, and maybe that bothers you. Maybe you can't sleep at night because of that, and your legacy, you want to know 100%. But you brought up a great point right before we were on air that the IBF is about to strip Usyk of his belt and give it to the winner of Hrgovic Dubois. So the rematch is not even undisputed anymore.
It's not even undisputed. It doesn't have nearly the value that this one did. That takes a lot of the shine off of it for me, for both fighters.
So if you're Fury, you have to get the Usyk rematch to get 3 belts, and then you got to beat Hrgovic Dubois winner to get the last belt to become undisputed. So that's the question, how important is that to him? And then again, in his mind, does he think he can win? Deep down, because I could see Fury very much saying, that was a tough fight. I don't really understand what I did wrong. I don't know if I can stop him. I can't trust the judges. I don't want to do it anymore. And that's where my hot take, he slides Team Usyk some money for them to retire. Because Fury needs to go out with pride. He can run his mouth all day and all night on every Netflix reality show that he's the greatest ever and he got robbed, and if he had gotten the rematch, he would have knocked him out in the first round and blah, blah, blah. But he'll never have to prove it.
Yeah, it's a hot take for sure. And he could definitely afford to do it. You hear how much these guys got paid? Actually, I got a question for you. When I'm listening, and they say the guy got paid $103 million for this fight, and you went to business school.
Yeah, they don't teach a lot about
like where
boxing.
I know, but like any like where does that come from? Is there a bank account that can write a check to Tyson Fury for $100 million?
Yeah,
is it a
the
paid out
kingdom
over
of
time?
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, right. They just like go dig out some gold. Or
yeah, I
something
think they
from
just
some-
get a little electronic funds transfer, a little ACH right in the bank account. You wake up that morning.
I get it. I just don't understand how that much money is like, and how does it break down? I'm sure there's lots of taxes and fees and stuff involved.
I don't know, actually. If I would guess that as a fighter, well, there's probably different tax implications fighting overseas. I don't know if you have to repatriate all the money, right? You just have a bank account abroad and put the money in there, and
It's
maybe
just
you avoid.
absurd to me, that amount of money. I'm used to working with boxers on the local level, and they make all right money here and there. But it's like, what, 100 million? What? Like, how?
I'd fight either of those guys for $100 million.
It's insane to me. And if a guy wins the lottery for $100 million, you can choose to keep your name anonymous because you don't want people to know you got that much cash.
Yeah.
These guys, they're like super celebrities. They're super rich. I mean, I'm sure his bills are pretty high, so $100 million for him isn't like $100 million for me, right?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of them have smaller training teams than you would expect. And like, yeah, the camp cost me like $200,000.
Yeah, but I mean like his bills, like his day-to-day life. Like what does Tyson Fury spend in a year of being Tyson Fury on his...
I don't know. I think you get a lot for free too because people want to fly you
Isn't that
out.
crazy
and-
how when you're a celebrity, people give you stuff for free. Like you go to a restaurant, you don't have to pay because they want you to be there.
Right.
Just to see other people to see
Yeah.
you were there.
Well, the rich get richer, man.
Yeah, they do. And well, the rich got richer this weekend. So Fury could afford to do whatever he wants. So does he want to come back after this and fight this guy again? I don't know. He went off the deep end when he won the world championship for the first time. Mm-hmm. Right? What's going to happen now that he lost
Right.
it? Is it going to make him a better man now that
Right.
he's down? And is something different's
Or-
going to come back?
Or dramatically the other
We're
way.
going to see the second stage of his career, like we saw with Big George Foreman when he came back a different man than who he was before
Right.
his retirement. Is he going to come back in a year, maybe not take this fight, whatever happens with him? I'd love to see him come back differently, with a different attitude, a more humble demeanor, lean more into this, what he talks a lot about God and all this stuff, but maybe take that a little more seriously, and kind of live that lifestyle instead of just talking about it when you need it. And come back and show us something different and fight a few more years. He's only 35. Get a couple more big fights, maybe get the Anthony Joshua fight. At that point, Anthony Joshua will probably be a world champion because you're probably going to pick up the belt from the Dubois-Hrgovic fight later in the year. And he can come back and fight for a world championship again. That would be cool.
Would it be cool? How would that fight go?
Well, if he gets hit clean by Anthony Joshua power punch, I don't think he's going to be... That might be the one that actually puts him down to sleep, especially after all the damage he's taken in his career, after being on the canvas 8 times now and coming back up. How many times can you get back up? He's like a damn Rocky movie. He's kind of a lovable lump.
Yeah.
You got to kind of love the guy a little bit.
I would love to see Fury Joshua, but only because I'm so displeased with Fury now, and I just want to see him get absolutely demolished. And I think that's what would happen in that fight. This version of Anthony Joshua, I think... I think maybe beats everybody. Maybe even beats Usyk if they ran it a third time. Probably not, because I think Usyk kind of has his number. But I think Joshua's found a bit of confidence back. He's dialed in. He's found his style where he's got power but craft, which he never quite had the balance of those things perfectly. And I think he's a force to be reckoned with out there, and he would absolutely crush Fury. And I'd love to see it. But
dude, Fury Joshua at Wembley would be like the most British
sold
thing
out,
that's ever happened.
crazy. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we'd be on the plate.
we might just have to revoke our independence
Yeah.
as a nation. If that happened.
Yeah, right. Cede our citizenship, become British for a
Yes,
day.
dude,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't
Tea
think
and
that
crumpets, bro.
I don't think that fight
Bruv.
happens, and I don't see either of these guys. I kind of don't see either of them fighting again. I think Usyk rides off into the sunset. I hope he does.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Maybe Fury goes away for a while, can't stay retired again, comes back, takes the Joshua fight, gets knocked out cold, and that's the end. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, a lot of different narratives this could take. And that's what's exciting about it. I mean, it takes a Tyson Fury to make an Alexander Usyk. These two different opposing stories coming together in the ring. It was just beautiful boxing. It was just legendary night. I'm so happy I saw it. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm watching it on TV. We bought it on DAZN because I forgot it was also on Top Rank. We actually had to re-download DAZN because I famously said, fuck DAZN forever.
Famously.
Yes, everybody heard that one. So I forgot about Top Rank, so I re-downloaded the app on the smart TV, and it's glitching all night, all day.
Well, DAZN's good at that.
And I reset it a few times, deleted some crap off the thing. Finally, right before the main event, gave up on the glitch. We got it on the computer, set it up on a box in front of us on the ottoman on the couch, and just sat really close to the computer.
Yeah.
And it was such an exciting fight that I forgot that I was watching it on like a 10.5-inch screen.
Right.
And they really, really lived up to the hype, really put on a show. Anytime I can really get just spontaneously yelling that, it means it was a great night
my
of
blood
boxing.
pressure was through the roof. Like I made an appointment with my cardiologist. I think I did permanent damage.
Well, your brunch probably didn't help with that either. Your fried chicken and your extra syrup.
That usually helps slow you down, some tryptophan. So let's say Usyk does ride off in the sunset right now. What's his legacy? Where's his stock right now? Is what I was talking about last week, pound for pound number one? Is that... I mean, you see the tweet from Bud Crawford?
Bud put some respect on him, and he says we all should too, and I agree with him.
And he's never said that about Inoue, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, well, we agreed that Inoue's defense is not pound for pound.
Yeah.
His offensive abilities are definitely pound for pound, but his defense is not. And I think, honestly, if Usyk and Crawford were the same size men standing across the ring with each other, I'd put my money on Terrence Bud Crawford.
You would still?
I would still.
So he's your pound for pound number one.
I think we've seen Usyk overcome so much adversity and do so much in his career, but I'm talking skill for skill, not accomplishment for accomplishment, okay? Mm-hmm. I got to say, Usyk's got the better accomplishments, no doubt. But skill for skill, punch for punch, defense for defense, I'd say I'd have to give it to Crawford still.
Interesting. I don't disagree with that because it's really hard to picture. Right? I close my eyes and I shrink Usyk down to the same size as Bud, or
that's
blow
funny. I was
Bud
making
up.
Bud bigger.
Okay, make Bud bigger.
That's a 220-pound Crawford.
Yeah, it's like it's almost impossible to and just such strange styles, right? I will say I think that Bud has more tools. In
Absolutely,
the toolbox.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
the Ukrainian is very good at what he does.
Yeah.
And when he struggles is when he doesn't do it. Like when Fury got him flat-footed with the body punches.
Yeah.
He was losing rounds because he didn't have a different choice. Mm-hmm. And then he was able to come back. Now, the adjustment he made there was amazing. But was it Fury slowing down or him getting enough of a break? If Fury would have jumped on him, would he got him out of there? So we see Crawford. He's slick as a snake, dude. He changes his style wherever he wants.
He's got more tools. There's no question about it. But... something about Usyk's accomplishments lead me to believe that he has an intangible tool, right? The tool of finding a way to win. And something about that makes it really hard for me to bet against him, against this Honey, I Shrunk the Kids Crawford that we've created. So I don't know. I still go Usyk pound for pound number one just because he's proved it so much more than everybody by going up to the biggest division,
Okay, so what if we get the dream fight of Crawford Canelo? If Crawford could beat Canelo, would that be equivalent to Usyk beating Fury?
Yeah. And I love that they're trying to make that fight because I think it's insane. But if Crawford takes it and I mean, Canelo has everything to lose. Why would he take it, right? But Crawford, that is a legacy cementing, probably pound for pound number one. I don't know. I'd have to go back through the history books, kind of number one. But as it is today, I've got Usyk number one, Crawford number two, and Inoue number three.
All right, man. Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one. My pound for pound's a little different, but, that's the way it goes.
Well, we'll keep it updated. It's a live list.
Yeah.
Live podcast, live list.
Yeah, I mean, every time one of these guys fights, they kind of tend to move themselves up in the rankings. So who's up next is Crawford.
Yeah.
So his next fight could really
But he
determine.
can't prove anything with this next fight in the same way that Usyk just
No,
did.
it's definitely not that high of stakes.
But eventually, he'll find those fights.
He's going to be a title holder in another weight class if things go as planned.
Yeah.
That's big, but not this big.
And if he becomes undisputed in 3 and joins Clarissa Shields is the only boxer to do that, right?
Yeah, that'd be sick.
That would definitely help his stock. But as of now, Usyk becomes the third, right? Third boxer ever to do it, undisputed in 3 weight classes.
He's only undisputed.
Or sorry, excuse me, undisputed in 2 weight classes. Yeah. So we've got 3 incredible pound for pound legends all fighting actively right now. It's a crazy time for boxing. Let's you want to run through some of the other fights real quick?
Let's walk through the rest of the day, man. We had a lot of action.
We did. Well, the first fight I turned on was Cabile getting the TKO against Sanchez. Sanchez on the back foot, running away, but not in a planful way. Looked like he was just completely outmatched.
I think there was something wrong with his back foot. He had that knee brace on. His leg was stiff. He kept doing this funny little resetting dance move that looked like he was shaking out like and your knee's gonna pop, because you've been sitting down for too long in a crisscross applesauce, something wrong with his leg. This is a Cuban boxer who's known for his movement. He's a stick and move. And man, he was murdering the dude with some power punches in the first round and then dancing away. I said, well, this is the Cuban style.
Right.
But then the punches went away. He was barely punching. I mean, that fight went longer than it should have. I mean, he was clearly injured in some kind of way.
Yeah.
It was a bad look. And a great win for Caballel, but is that the name right?
I think so, yeah.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let it ride.
Say it again. Say great win.
Great win for Caballel, but that was not the best Sanchez that we've seen.
No, a little rough. Next up, Cordino almost gets KO'd in the 3rd round after getting hit on the break. I think in that 3rd round, 9 out of 10 refs would have stopped it there. Would have been the end of the fight. But finally gets called off later in the fight, and Kakasha gets the win.
Yeah, that was an upset for sure. Cordino with the amateur pedigree, the Olympic tattoo. Anytime you see a guy in the boxing ring with that Olympic rings tattoo, you're like, oh, this guy's supposed to win. But he didn't, and he was in rough shape. I think he was out on his feet for the last 2 or 3 rounds. I was a bit okay with that fight being stopped long before it did.
Yeah.
But on that, on that stage, these high stakes events, these referees are letting it go, and it's kind of tough to watch sometimes. I say, I don't want to watch this guy get beat down no more. Kakashi was throwing some power punches. That uppercut, 2, 3 times in a row?
I got that highlighted here. This man got hit with, 50 uppercuts in the course of 3 rounds. And I had this on my notes to ask you. How do you stop the uppercut? You're in the corner with this guy, Cordina comes back. What advice are you giving him to shut down that uppercut?
Just quit standing straight up and down. You got to start flexing your waist.
Side to side movement.
Because the uppercuts go up the middle. You get yourself out of the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't stand there in that mid-range exchanging with your head straight up and down. But that's what happens when guys get rocked. They forget to move their heads. All they can remember how to do is punch.
Yeah.
That guy was operating on autopilot. He slipped a couple punches. I was like, damn, okay, he's awake. Mm-hmm. He threw a couple punches. Oh, well, he's alive. And then he would just go back to getting smashed again.
Yeah.
So the referee was confused because he was like, is this guy in this or not?
Yeah, it was very hot and cold. He used the high guard quite a bit, and I was screaming at him the whole time, like, pull your elbows together. Shut down the uppercut, with your forearms at least. I mean, you'll kind of expose your side of your ribs, but that's better than just getting rocked in the chin over and over and over.
Yeah, or if you're that close to the guy and you're not punching, you better be doing something else, like tie him up. Smother him.
Yeah.
Put your shoulder in his chest. Do something, but don't just stand there and wait for the guy to stop punching because he ain't going to stop.
Well, the triple uppercut is my new favorite combination.
Yeah, well, that was another one. It was another older guy, 35-year-old Kakashi, world champion, upset. Now, that rematch will probably be pretty spicy, so look forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be good. Next up, Optai versus Breedis. Breedis comes on late. I threw money on Breedis. I texted you, and you said, yeah, you're putting that right in the trash. And I looked pretty smart rounds 9 and 10.
I thought you had it there for a minute.
But
Yeah.
but Optai, gets it together, survives, puts together overall, a much stronger performance and gets the unanimous decision win to get the IBF 200-pound title.
Man, those guys are just made for each other.
Yeah.
They just put on wars. That first fight was tough, and there's blood everywhere. The second fight was tough, blood all over the place. That dude, Breedis, he's just tough as nails.
Yeah.
Nightmare opponent. You hit him with everything, and he's still there, and he's still throwing power punches.
That's the thing. He's not just still there. He's still biding his time, and he still has enough in the gas tank to hurt you later in the fight.
Yeah, I thought Opatai looked sharp, but he was clearly not interested in exchanging with the older fighter there.
Yeah.
And, if these guys had to run a 7-fight series, it might be all they ever do again in their boxing career. They're just not, they're just too rough for each other. I mean, great for entertainment, but tough as a fighter.
Well, that's probably the end of Breedis, right? He's not coming back.
Yeah, we'll see. When you see a guy like Sergey Kovalev come out still fighting.
True.
Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah. It was tough, man. It was like watching Triple G, but worse, because the commentators were like, "Oh, he's doing pretty good for an old guy."
Right.
Does he still got it? Oh man, not too bad for if you count the amount of times they brought his age up, it was at least twice or 3 times around. But he took some power punches and stuck in there, but he didn't really have a whole lot left.
Yeah.
For his own offense. But man, the guy can still take a shot, and he made it to the distance and lost the fight fair. But not a whole lot, raising the stakes for the other guy there.
Right. Why not come back just to
Zafar.
take 12 rounds of damage and then retire?
It's like you got that check you off. I beat a former world champion. I beat a guy who's been in the ring with some of the best ever, but he was not the same guy anymore.
Right.
So,
Right.
tough watch.
Well, that was the end of the DAZN card, and then we got a small break, but not much, and then flip back to ESPN for the Navarrete-Baranchyk fight. First fight I watched on that card was Kiki. Richard Torres taking on Moore. Gets the stoppage. What did you think of this fight? I celebrate anytime I see Kiki, get the KO, but at the same time, it freaked me out because I saw so many holes in his game. I'm worried about where he can go from here. Even looking impressive and getting the stoppage.
Yeah, he did great. It was a good night for Southpaws. I noticed Southpaws were winning all night long.
True.
But he did what we expected, came out real hot, but he met some resistance. This guy could take a punch, unlike he hung in there and gave back some trouble.
Yeah.
To Kiki. What round did they end it in? Because I thought that it wasn't a complete wipeout. I mean,
No. It went. He looked like I don't want to say he struggled, but yeah, the guy could take a punch. Moore could take a punch, and had some good movement and gave him some trouble. I think ultimately he couldn't exploit kind of the openings that I could see there, which is
what were you seeing?
Well, Torres generates a lot of speed and a lot of torque with his punches, and I think part of that is from his hand placement, his elbows being really far away from his body, and you look at his rear hand, it doesn't tighten up ever, right? He never gets on the telephone, and that just seems like trouble against somebody that's going to be fast enough to exploit that,
Or another southpaw
yeah,
with the right hook.
And then, he's a shorter fighter, shout out shorter fighters. And when he has to try to close the distance, he really throws his head down into the same pocket. So he's got, his hand far away from his face, his head, down and to the left every time. And it just seems like it's begging for that Billy Joe Saunders Canelo orbital break.
Well, where was Alexander Usyk's head at when he got hit with the big uppercut from
same spot
down and to the left? Sound like JFK into the left.
Yeah.
So down until but he's putting his head in that uppercut zone in the open stance footwork battle. You don't want to lean your head down in there. But he definitely throws those, like dipping his head and rolling the punches up and over to overcome being the shorter fighter. Shorter fighters have a tough road to hoe, man. You got to be aggressive. Even in sparring, we got to get these guys to be like, hey. And you can't just jab with this guy. I mean, you got to have a jab.
Yeah.
But your jab should be immediately followed by an aggressive attack that gets you right up in their face. And it's hard to train like that. It's hard to fight like that. And eventually somebody's going to find a way to crack that code. He's going to have to learn to be more dynamic. And hopefully this fight was the eye-opener that he needs for that. Because I'm sure when he watches the tape back, he's going to see the same things you saw.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I've been seeing it for a couple of his last fights, and I hope he doesn't have to learn it with any type of significant adversity in the ring, like taking a big shot or actually touching the canvas or anything like that. I hope they do watch the tape and can see it, because he's one of my favorites, and I want to see him rise up. And I think he has some kind of intangible greatness in him, just in terms of his determination, his motor, his speed, clearly his power. He's a guy I'd like to see go far in the sport.
Yeah, he just keeps coming forward, man.
Yeah.
Great, entertaining boxer. Friend of show.
Friend of show. Then we got the next fight, which is the steel shower. Brian Norman bloodies Santillan and gets the stoppage. This was Zoo Fundora Part 2, the bloodbath.
That was hard to watch, bro.
It was tough.
Oh man, they could have stopped that fight long before they did. And Santillan comes out, hometown fight. He's trying to put an end to Norman right away.
Yeah.
A super aggressive attacking, but smothering himself. And Norman was like riding the storm out. And this other guy's just working his ass off trying to get him out of there. The crowd's screaming. But sometimes that hometown crowd eats you up.
Yeah.
And he didn't make any tactical adjustments. And eventually Norman did and started finding the punch of the weekend, the uppercut.
Yep.
And holy smokes, buddy, that KO, when your body starts falling one way and then it like ricochets and snaps back the other way on your way to the ground.
You're done.
Man, that's hard to watch. They could have stopped it on the knockdown that preceded the KO.
Yeah.
That would have been okay with me.
Oh, yeah. They could have stopped it a lot earlier, to be honest. I mean, Santillan was putting together, I think, good work. It just looked like Norman was kind of impervious to it. And at that point, it was like, you're just taking damage. You're not giving any damage.
Yeah, we called that one wrong. I didn't give Norman enough credit for what he was able to do. I hadn't studied him enough. Only seen him fight a couple times and wasn't watching it with that, analytical eye.
Yeah.
But now people are going to be watching him with an analytical eye. People are going to say, "Oh, what can this guy do?" Highlight reel knockout on the undercard or the co-main event rather of a huge title fight. So he's going to be in title contention soon, and he's only had a few fights. So
yeah, no, excited to see where he goes next. And speaking of not giving maybe enough credit, Baranchyk becomes the fourth to hold a belt at 135, defeating Navarrete. Gets a split decision, ruined my parlay. But what a snoozer of a fight.
Man, they say styles make fights, but there was no style in this fight. So there was hardly a fight. It was ugly, man.
True.
Tim Bradley was roasting him hard. This is the sloppiest championship fight I think I've ever seen, and I couldn't help but agree with him.
Yeah.
It was just so hard to watch, The Ukrainian style famously exploits a basic boxer, like we saw Loma recently do to Kambosos, right? If you're normal, these guys are going to be abnormal and move around a lot and be weird and hit you from different angles. But El Vaquero is not basic. He's about as weird as a guy gets too. Mm-hmm. So those two weird styles just made this ugly mess of elbows and lunging. And I thought it was going to be the first fight I was going to watch for a title where there was going to end in a flying headbutt KO.
Right. Yeah. That's what it looked like.
It was terrible.
There was guys would stumble and be like, I'm not even holding my breath that it's a knockdown. It's obviously that they tripped, falling over each other.
They were using the ropes like a damn luchador wrestling match.
And no one could plant their feet ever to throw a punch. There was no power, and it was just like spaghetti arms all over the place. I hilariously, I'm watching it thinking, is Baranchyk the new Navarrete? Because he out-threw him in total offense, and he looked in a weird way similar, throwing all these punches from off angles.
He threw it back, his signature leaping lead uppercut. He threw it back at him and landed with it a couple times.
Yeah. So crazy fight. I was kind of scoring it in the back of my head, and I wouldn't have been mad, honestly, at any outcome. It's one of those fights.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody by a round or two or even a draw, but except for I didn't want to ever see it again.
Nobody wins in a fight like that, even the guy who takes the title home.
Yeah.
Nobody wins.
I think the interesting thing was, okay, Navarrete doesn't look like his power moved with him up to 135.
No, definitely not. Because a smaller guy, a smaller Baranchyk would have got KO'd by some of the punches he took.
Yeah.
But he's not big enough, he's not strong enough and powerful enough at 135.
So it's not a very interesting addition into the mix at 135, which is arguably the best division now. So I think any of the other three belt holders absolutely smoked these guys.
One of the other belt holders is his fellow Ukrainian from his 2012 Olympic team.
Right.
Gold medal versus silver medal, countrymen battling. Will they do it?
No, I don't think they'll do it.
They won't fight each other?
No.
They're not stablemates anymore.
I just don't see it happening. I see, I don't know. I see Shakur and Loma, maybe.
Well, clearly, Baranchyk is clearly seen as the weakest guy in the division as a belt holder.
If I'm Shakur, I'm licking my chops at Baranchyk. I'm trying to get through. I'm probably mad I took the fight that I took in July, right? But I'd take that fight and then immediately look to turn around in 3 or 4 months, which I know he's not going to do, and take the belt off Baranchyk. And then you set up a huge fight with Loma for unification, and then an even bigger fight with Tank.
Ooh, buddy.
But no one's going to sweep it like that. But that's That's what I'd like to see. I think they're both. Whoever had won, Navarrete or Baranchyk, is just a sit and duck to have that belt taken by one of these other guys.
Yeah, that was not a great, entertaining fight at all, especially after everything we'd been through that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially after the Norman KO, especially after the Kiki's explosive performance, especially, you know, after what happened with Fury and Usyk. I mean, by the end of the night, you're a little burned out on boxing, and then they put on the snoozer. I think I started drifting away from the fight before it was even over. Started tidying up the house and getting ready for bed.
Oh yeah,
I was like, "There's nothing to see here," and that's the way it goes. You know, they can't all be explosive barn burners. But what a freaking day of boxing!
Mm-hmm.
What a great day of boxing!
It was a great day.
You know, I was back in the gym the next day, like it was my first day there. I love it. The inspiration they give it, and they give the sport. You know, it's amazing. It's contagious. You know, the whole world is been affected by this. And it reaches past the realm of normal boxing fans. This was on regular Sports Center, you know. Usyk Fury, such a big deal. So,
yeah.
Great day to be a boxing fan.
No, it is. And I can't wait for another day where I do absolutely nothing but eat Frosted Flakes, chicken and waffles, and watch boxing. But before we wrap up, let's cover one piece of news that I wanted to get to. Haney files in court to officially disqualify the fight with Garcia and actually flip it to him as the victor. Thought this was pretty crazy. I read some of the court briefing. Illegal use of IVs to rehydrate, coming in overweight as a planful tactic. I don't know what the legal ground is for that one. Obviously, you knew he was overweight before the fight started. And of course the ostracine. Pretty interesting.
To make it a win or a no contest?
So I read first the filing, the news story that I read said to disqualify it, right? To just take it off so it's not a loss, right? But then the filing says to actually make it a win.
I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening, but I could see a DQ.
Well, yeah. No contest just didn't happen.
Just didn't happen. Take it off.
So now, you know, you don't have a loss on your record.
Right.
It's all business, right? It's all business moves. Man, I don't think that's going to happen. And it's not a good look for Haney. I don't think that's a good look. I think he should just move on with his life.
Really? I would do it. Maybe I'm a petty man, but I think you're like, shit, I'm whatever he is, 30-1 now. And it's like, I could just take that away, you know? And it kind of formalizes what you want people to be thinking, which is like, yeah, he lost, but the other guy's a cheat. The other guy was on steroids. That's not fair, you know? The win already has an asterisk next to it. It's like, why not legally
clear it out.
Put an asterisk next to it?
I guess so. I mean, it's not a... I just don't like it. I think he should go out and prove it in his next fight that he's the better boxer.
Well, to get our respect back, yes. Because we wanted Haney to be even a juiced up Ryan Garcia because skill should win fights. I mean, we're just talking about, we just saw Usyk fight a dude way bigger than him. That's a way bigger advantage than being, high on SARMs.
We've seen a lot of juiced up boxing, okay?
Yeah.
They just don't get popped for it.
Yeah.
A lot of our heroes are juiced up. A lot of the guys who... Floyd beat a lot of guys that were juicing. Juan Manuel Marquez, like crazy with the fucking Mexican meat.
Yeah.
And Floyd was able to handle him. So Haney definitely... There's a question mark around his ability.
Yeah.
But I've always said that he I used to say he was built in a laboratory, right, as a boxer. Like he's been in the gym since he was a child. All the moves he's made, every workout he's done has all been to this point. And also his career, his dad has moved his career in a business way to build him to this point. And then it all just kind of fell apart right there on that night. Not only did he expose from the boxing angle, but the business angle too. So now you're going to court to try to fix something that you agreed to in the first place. That's not a good look.
Yeah,
either.
I thought that was a bad look.
Retroactively trying to clean up your mess.
The weight? Plus, you're a weight bully, man. So come on. That didn't change the complexion of the fight.
No, yeah, they both weighed 168 pounds or more on fight night. So,
but I agree. Maybe it's a business move to scratch the 1 and get the O back on your record, but then to really prove who you say you are, you got to get back in the ring. You got to face, maybe you take a tune-up fight, but then you got to get back in the mix and beat somebody in dominant fashion and prove your skill. And I'm willing to put Haney back on top where I kind of thought that he was. I was throwing shade at him before he went to Australia. Mm-hmm. But then those wins, and then even eking out the win against Loma, and then really shutting down what's his name? New Orleans dude.
Oh yeah, of course, Rougarou. Yeah. So here's the path for him to get back boxing fans on his side. Right back in the ring with Subriel Matias.
Yeah.
That's the boogeyman of the division. That's the.
I think one fight and then Matias.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. One.
Just to get some confidence.
That'd be smart from a business
honestly. He should
perspective.
fight. He should fight a bum, and just to get a stoppage, because it's like people. If I saw footage of Devin Haney stopping someone, I would think it was deep fake. You know, he should fight a bum just to put something on tape to show that he can do it. Now I'm talking about a non-pay-per-view fight, like a Thursday night. You know, and then and get some confidence, get some hype, and then go fight.
I know a guy in that weight class who could put on a good show and probably get KO'd by.
Yeah, is it me?
Rolly Romero.
Ooh, that'd be no, but he's at 140 now. Oh right, yeah.
It's a
No, you're
140
right,
show.
and yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, go knock out Rolly. But then people are going to be like, you didn't knock him out as fast as
Speaking
Tank
of
did."
140, they made it official. I saw this morning on Instagram, Top Rank posted a poster for Teofimo versus Claggett.
Yep.
It's going down in Miami.
Yeah.
So
It's
that'll be
happening.
interesting.
So it's confirmed. Tio's not going to do what he did before. Still
You're
looking
like,
for
"Who?"
an opponent. Yeah.
Maybe he will.
Who am I fighting?
Maybe he woke up and saw the same post that I did this morning.
Yeah. That's what happens. Well, any more boxing news? Anything else? We got to talk about anything else?
Man, we had such a busy weekend. I don't even know what's coming.
Yeah.
What's coming this weekend?
Yeah, I don't even know. Let's just take a look.
Let's look to the future real quick. I know we got a lot of good stuff coming up in the next couple months. Don't know what's happening this weekend. I got some fighters competing in an all-female tournament. up in-
Taylor Catterall too.
Oh,
That's a little,
There we go.
little more morning
Bad
boxing.
blood.
The beef.
the beef. Okay, that one just got postponed, right? And now it's finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's
Yeah, I
right.
believe so.
That came back quicker than I thought it would. Man, boxing time moves so weird. Somebody told me the other day the first Usyk Joshua fight was 2021.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Boxing time clock is just whack, dude. I thought that was like last year or something.
I mean, that's what happens when you only fight,
Once a year.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to speed this stuff up, man.
Yeah.
Just so we can get some more fights in before I die.
All right. Well, we'll watch the Taylor Catterall there, and we'll see how that plays out. But the biggest fight we're all looking forward to right now, I think the biggest thing coming is going to be the doubleheader with Tank Davis and David Benavidez on
Yeah.
the same bill.
No,
That's the big thing. That's the big thing.
That's a
coming
good card. Until Bivol and Beterbiev get it back scheduled.
up whenever his meniscus gets replaced.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, until then, I'm Dust,
I'm Coach.
and that's boxing.